Hi, I'm Erin Leach, and you're listening to the In the Middle of It podcast. This is a space for the ambitious woman navigating the beautiful, messy intersection of motherhood, business, and spirituality. We're here to get real about what it actually looks like to build a life that feels aligned from the inside out while moving through the seasons that stretch and shape you into the best version of yourself. So whether you're in a season of high-speed growth or quiet reflection, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Let's get ready for this week's episode.
Hi, friend. Welcome to the very first episode of In the Middle of It. Today, I just want to talk about how this podcast even came to be, but I promise it's not just going to be me yapping about myself. My hope is that as I share my story, you'll see pieces of your own in it and maybe feel a little less alone in whatever middle you're in right now. So let's rewind a little bit. For about 7 years now, I've been a wedding photographer, and I still am. And I do love it. I love my job and getting to witness people on one of the most meaningful days of their lives. There's just so much joy and happiness around, but it really is such an honor to be the person who captures memories from this day for people, and just to be a part of their story in that way. But over time, I've started to feel this quiet nudge that there was more I was meant to do, more ways that I wanted to show up and to help, to speak, and to connect with people. I've always known that photography wasn't going to be endgame for me. I've always said that I'm a much better business person than I am a photographer, but I never knew what that would look like. We've toyed around with so many different ideas. I say we, meaning my husband and I. But eventually led me to just exploring a personal brand, just keeping it simple. Because at first I tried to make something really specific, coaching photographers, building systems, mindset work, and I felt more confident in that because, everything you hear is about niching down, and if you're trying to talk to everyone, you're really talking to no one. So I felt really good about that. But it just still didn't feel quite right once I really got into it. And it was literally the week before I was going to launch something. And I don't think this is going to work. I don't think I like this. Nope, it doesn't feel right. It just doesn't feel aligned. It just felt like I was trying to force something that didn't really fit. So eventually, with some time and meditation and journaling, I realized that maybe I don't need to have it all figured out, that maybe I can just start with something even while things are still taking shape. So thankfully, I have a husband who knows me well. And a while back, he suggested that I start a YouTube channel because he knows that I can yap and that long form kind of content might suit me better than trying to squeeze my thoughts into 30-second reels. And he was right, but the perfectionist in me kept getting stuck in the weeds. I wanted the perfect setup, I wanted the perfect lighting and the perfect thumbnails, but that was keeping me from even starting. Just feeling like, I can't start until I've figured it all out. So one day, finally just hit me. I don't know why I didn't think of it from the jump, but I don't need a camera. I don't need the perfect background. All I have to do is talk. That was really the point, was just for me to create long form content with my voice. So that's where this podcast came in. And it just, even in that one moment, it just felt perfect because I realized that I could literally record from anywhere with messy hair, no makeup, in my car, wherever, and just focus on what actually matters, is the message. Because what I really want to talk about is the things that women like us are feeling and thinking and living through, the things that we often feel so alone in, even though we are absolutely not. After being a mom, I was hit with emotions that I didn't expect, or really the level of emotions that I didn't expect. You expect, all the hormonal emotions and whatever, but I did not expect the postpartum rage, the shame, intrusive thoughts that turned out to actually be OCD that I've definitely had my whole life. And I realized that no one was really talking about this, or at least not openly. I've seen a few things here and there on social media, but it's definitely not the mainstream conversation. It's getting better, but definitely could still be better. I had found some local resources, thankfully, for me to get a little bit of help dealing with my postpartum mental health, and also had some really honest conversations with some mom friends from a mom group that I was in. And through all of that, realized that there are so many women that were going through the same thing. And meanwhile, I'm at home and having all these feelings and feeling like I'm the worst person in the world. I'm the worst mom in the world. How could I be feeling like this when we just had our first baby? I should be so happy and just so fulfilled, and all of these things that obviously were misplaced, meaning I didn't have to feel that way. And I was blaming myself for feeling things that were just not normal, but they weren't uncommon for new moms, especially transitioning from no kids to one kid, but also moms after having any baby, whichever baby. So that is my mission here. I want to create that conversation where we can talk about the real stuff and the things that we all experience, but we don't always say out loud. It's not even big, hard things like postpartum mental health. That's a big thing. But it's also about these little quiet thoughts that sit in the back of your mind. Those are probably the things that really only mentioning to your best friend, maybe your partner, therapist, or sometimes not at all, depending on what it is. You might not even feel comfortable vocalizing it out loud. And those thoughts about who we are now, that everything has changed. Motherhood, questions about spirituality and purpose. And sometimes you don't speak up because you just don't have the right words yet. So, it feels a little like risky, vulnerable to bring that up to somebody, even someone who is as dear and close to you as your best friend or your partner. So these are the things that I've been thinking about for a couple of years now, since Leon was born. A lot of things that I have only also said out loud to my husband, and I just know I'm not the only one. One personal example is I've often wondered why there are churches and temples for organized religion, but there's no true gathering space for spirituality in like just a more broader sense. There's not necessarily a place to worship, but just a place for community to talk about energy, alignment, and growth around people who get it and who are like on the same wavelength as you. Without the judgment of, oh, that's just like the woo-woo stuff. It's like people who also really truly believe in it. So it's things like that I want to explore here and create more conversation around, and these little thoughts that hopefully are going to make you say, my goodness, I've been thinking that too. Yeah, this podcast started as an outlet for me, but my bigger intention is that it becomes something for you, for all my listeners, and for a bigger community. Because I know that you've probably felt that pull too, one that just kind of like whispers in the back of your mind that you're meant for more. And maybe you're a mom trying to balance work and life. Maybe you're building something of your own and feeling stretched thin. But beyond that, maybe you're also just sitting with your own unspoken thoughts and wondering if anybody else is feeling what you're feeling or thinking what you're thinking, questioning the same things about life and motherhood and purpose. And that's where this podcast comes in, because you're not the only one. None of us are. And if you're sitting on your own dream right now, something that you've been overthinking or waiting to feel ready for, let this be your reminder that you don't need the perfect plan. You just need to begin. One of my favorite metaphors is a staircase. You don't need to see the whole staircase in order to take the first step. You just have to see the first few steps in front of you. Sometimes it's just the first step, and you go one stair at a time, and then eventually you turn around and you realize how far you've come just by taking one step at a time. The clarity comes from the doing, for actually taking action. And that's true for business, for creativity, for healing, for really anything. And I don't know what this podcast, or really the brand overall, will become, but I just know I'm done letting overthinking hold me back. And if that's where you're at too, consider this your permission slip to begin. This is me reaching out my hand and saying, come on, let's go, let's do it. You can do it. And I can already tell this is the start of something really special. For me, of course, but hopefully for you too. And if this has resonated with you, I would really love to hear from you. Share a screenshot of where you're listening, whether that's Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube, or even a picture of your desk as you're listening. I would just love to hear in these early days that there's somebody listening and vibing with all of this. You can tag me at I am Erin Leach on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, on all the places, or send me a DM to tell me what part hit home. And for real, truly, if there's a topic you'd love for me to cover, or you're curious about, or a story that you want to share, please reach out. Please send me that DM, because I would love to have this be more listener driven. And I would also love to have guest conversations as well. But thank you for listening to In the Middle of It. I am very, very excited for where this is going to go. And I appreciate you being here from the literal start. So until next time, I'm Erin Leach, your spiritual business mom friend, reminding you to give yourself grace and keep growing.